the screen, Nicaragua went as high as 70% after their rebasing exercise. Guatemala went as, or shall I say Paraguay, went down by 11%. In terms of methodology, I've said detailed methodologies on our site, but 4 major methodological pillars were adopted. The System of National Accounts, 2008 version, that's an upgrade of 1993. Now, there are very few countries that have been able to successfully migrate from 93 to 2008. So this, the attempt to do that was actually, in my opinion, a good one. We moved from the International Standard of Industrial Classification 3.1 to 4, the Central Product Classification version 2, and then the ongoing development of a supplies use table for Nigeria. Our frame, like the CIB mentioned, increased from 83,000 to over 851,000, which means there's a 10 times increase in the frame used for our surveys. And mostly because we're able to capture more of informal sector activity. We had a micro, small, medium scale enterprise survey with Smidan, which enabled us to capture more of these establishments that were not in our initial frame. In addition, we expanded our frame during the 14 new activities and surveys that we went to go and conduct. This was the journey, what we did, the different key highlights of the activities that we did to get the numbers. Again, I will go through that very quickly. The reclassification resulted in an increase from 33 activities to 46. They're all listed on the screen, and they will all be in the documents that we're going to give to you, so I will not go through that. And go straight into the results from the GDP rebasing exercise. The results of the rebasing exercise revealed that nominal GDP in 2010 was revised from 33.9 trillion to 54.2 trillion. That's for 2010. That's an increase of 59.5%. It was revised from 34.4 trillion in 2011 to 63.2 trillion in 63.2 trillion. That's the revised number. That's an increase of 69.1% for that year. From 40.5 trillion to 71.1 trillion for 2012. That's an increase of 75.58%. And we are estimating that it is revised from 42.3 trillion in 2013 to 80.3 trillion, an increase of 89.22% for 2013. The equivalent in US dollars is $360.6 billion for 2010, $408.8 billion 2011, $453.9 billion 2012, and an estimated $509.9 billion for 2013. The results also show that in 2010, agriculture's share of GDP is now estimated at 23.96% compared to 30.34% in the old series. Industry has dropped from 46.08% to 25.81%. And services has more than doubled to over 50% from about 23% in the old series. As we can see, the structure of the economy has changed significantly, and it's a lot more diversified than we thought earlier. We also observed new growth sectors. Some as a result of the fact that they have a very low base, so of course they are growing very quickly, like electricity and gas. But the three fastest or the four fastest growing activities after the revision are the electricity, gas, steam, air conditioning supply, motion pictures, sound recording, and music production, financial institutions, which came third, and then the arts, entertainment, and recreation activities, and the rest is on the screen, and you'll get details. The results also further emphasize, like I mentioned earlier, this changing structure of the economy, with the services sector growing strongly. Now you can see the old series on the left and the new series on the right, and you can see the way, the fact that the way the services sector has expanded significantly. This is not particularly surprising. When Ghana did theirs, it also witnessed a similar structural change. You can see that's 2005, where services spiked. Very similar to 2010, also the last 3 bars when Nigeria spiked. Now we try and compare our GDP structure with similar countries, and I selected some of the BRICS countries and the Mint countries for illustration. This is Brazil. Very similar in structure to Nigeria. Very large services sector, and so on. Now, let's look at Russia. Again, similar structure. India, which is probably India is almost identical to Nigeria. I think of the BRIC countries, probably the most similar to Nigeria. It's almost, the structure is almost identical to that of Nigeria. South Africa. Again, the same kind of structure. Now, the main countries, starting with Mexico. Similar structure. Indonesia. And Thailand. All very similar in structure. Again, this is not expected. It's not unexpected. I think development theory suggests that as a country begins to progress, its share of the service sector will continue to increase. So you can see that the results that we got are very, very in line with what is expected under development theory, and it's also in line with what is expected with comparable countries to Nigeria. So where does Nigeria rank now in terms of position and in terms of ratios like per capita GDP? I'm not sure if we can see that, but it's very difficult. Anyway, this slide basically shows the GDP per capita for all countries. But if we try and make it clearer by showing the GDP per capita for countries around Nigeria. Okay. That's not very clear. Then go to the next slide, please. Okay, in 2011, our GDP per capita falls between South Africa and Austria. Oh, sorry. This is total GDP. This is not. I think the slides are moving slower than I am. This is total GDP. It's basically showing where we rank as far as our total GDP size is now. In 2011, we are between South Africa and Austria. In 2012, we jumped over Austria, and we're now behind Argentina, making us the 26th largest economy in the country from 33 previously. With respect to per capita income,